Now, you could argue, is McDonald's a good name or not? Coca-Cola, like all that sort of stuff. I think you probably are going to say it is a good name, but...
Sick name, yeah.
It's
chicken and egg. It's also a chicken and egg thing.
It's like, did they make it? Yeah.
But it's also, I mean, just to do like 5 second or 30-second detour on McDonald's, it's like, it does have that like family, the last name of a family in contrast to like hyper mass produced slot. Is like it's like contrast that made it work. I think like maybe you could even say like that's why it's a bigger brand than Burger King.
Welcome to another episode of Not Investment Advice. You got Jack Butcher, Bilal Zaidi. Trung isn't here this week, unfortunately, but hopefully next week we'll be back. Lots to cover today, Jack. We'll get warmed up before the pod. You feeling warmed up right now? We were chatting for a little while. So we got lots to get through, man. There was the humanoid that took over the feed last week, man. We're going to talk about robots in your living room, what that's going to be like. Surely nothing bad can happen from this, Jack. And then we've got a little bit on the markets, what's been going on, how you're feeling about stuff in, both stocks and crypto worlds. We had a couple AMA questions if we get to that. There was some rumors about ChatGPT not letting us do legal or what was the second category? Medical, which is like the two categories that we all need it for, surely. So we'll see if that was fake news or not, because it was posted by a prediction market website. And then we want to talk a little bit about naming, talking of prediction markets. You had a good little tweet on this about Polymarket, so I want to get your take on that. And then let's see if we get to it, but maybe a little bit on the UK again, because it's me and Jack this week. But we got to do meme of the week, mate. Halloween was last week. Did you dress up, Jack?
I was Cookie Monster, yeah.
There you go. I said that because I did see a picture, but I didn't want to volunteer that information. Absolutely killing it with the kids. There you go. Me and the missus, we did the Louvre Robbers. That was pretty jokes.
That's a good one. Timely,
nice, easy one. Went to a party thinking we're going to be unique. There was at least two other couples there. It's all good. It's an easy one though, because you can just get the emergency vest. You know what I mean? High vis. Let's get this. But definitely meme of the week and Halloween costume of the year goes to Bill Ackman. If you guys didn't see this is fucking great. All right, you see that?
Yeah, that is
so he
class.
said, I was one of my own posts for Halloween, TLDR. And he's basically an iPhone with a massive long tweet, which is
and the
pretty
one
funny.
in his hand, I think, is funny too. He got
it's like a big iPhone or something. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's good,
incredible. Man. Got to laugh at people laughing at themselves, Jack. That's what it's about, mate.
Doubt.
But yeah, so where should we go here? Humanoid. Do you want to start with that, or you want to do sentiment of the markets? How you feeling?
No, we do the humanoid thing. That's not like tangent, like meme of the week almost as well, right? Just took off in all different directions, which is great for them. Loads of press. What was it called? What's the company called?
Neo, the home robot. Here we go. Can you see it?
Yeah.
All right. I'll play a second because it's 9-10 minutes long. We're not going to play obviously the whole thing, but you can see
67 million views.
And
incredible.
Today,
that's
launching
crazy.
Neo, our humanoid for the home.
Neo, the robot.
All right, we're not going to watch the whole thing, but you get the idea. But if you didn't see this, here's a few. I'm just skipping ahead for people watching this. In the living room, mate. This is no longer a joke. I think there's pre-order, and the price was it 20 grand or 500
a month? 20 grand to buy it or 500 a month to rent it, yeah.
Which seems super low for, that sort of, if it actually worked. Or incredibly expensive, which will, depending on the way you look at it, depend on the cost of your privacy. So yeah, the general take on it was it can do your laundry, it can do like actual household tasks. Apparently, that's what the promise is anyway in the Kickstarter style video. But before we get into that, what was your take on it when you saw it on the feed? Because it went super viral, obviously.
Initially, before I really thought about it, I was like, or before I heard anything about how it works, it was like $500 a month to do basically any task a human being could do.
Easy.
Like it's not a bad ROI on that potentially. If you're busy, whatever.
Got to get the chair ready,
And then exactly. And then when you look into how it works, it's like, oh, this is remotely operated by some geezer in India.
It's not AI. It's actually Indians or what is it? Anonymous Indians.
That's a Navalism, yeah. Which is like just beyond if you think about the ramifications of that, like just people don't want to have a Alexa in their house, right? And then you think about having a version of Alexa that can move around
with limbs, you said.
Yeah, with limbs when we were warming up. But I mean, that, in my estimation, sort of killed the narrative of this thing dead, you know? It actually reminds me of that Friend product. I don't think we ever talked about that. Do you remember the necklace?
I've just seen the ads right near my place. It's like on the subway here.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, this is different because you're not wearing it around your neck and in public. Maybe it doesn't have as big of a, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like as controversial because it's like, this is here to do tasks. It's not here to like replace your loved ones, you know, but obviously.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, there's loads of crude interpretations of this thing too. Like even where ChatGPT announced they were going, 2 weeks ago, it's like, by the way, we're going to start like making this adult friendly porno, whatever, you know, no holds barred.
Yeah.
And that stuff is going there, mate. And
definitely.
I don't know. I'd be curious I would really love to know how many they like pre-sold. Be fascinating to have that information, but obviously just went nuclear distribution, 67 million views in 5 days or something.
Mental, yeah. And that was just the main tweet. There's probably a bunch of people talking about it like us on here.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think isn't this also just like a direct competitor to Optimus? That would be the exact same thing, essentially, yeah. And I think it was even the same price point that he was like touting for. So it's kind of like hijacking the narrative of that, all the work that's been done to
get out there to
pitch the idea that this thing, you know, should be a humanoid because it can adapt to anything and learn any task. And like Tesla, you kind of can buy the narrative that like, oh, we can get enough video and we have enough experience building these autonomous systems. It doesn't have to be like purely remotely controlled. I think your mind can get to, oh yeah, you can imagine a like private autonomous version of that. This one is like companies popped up and like, we're selling this, and without the, you know, decades of experience building these systems, it's hard to believe that thing would ever become autonomous in a short amount of time, which leads to how it actually works, which is a crazy thing to think about. Like imagine the remote set up for that, like everybody presumably in like cloned versions of the suit in some room somewhere, like doing the tasks.
Yeah, that's a good point. It'd be interesting to see like what that'd be. And I saw, you know, there's a journalist, is it Robert Scoble? I think he's a journalist, right? Yeah, pretty sure he's a journalist. Yeah, he's an old school, like Fast Company guy, right? So yeah, he gave quite a good review of it, like a full write-up. I mean, like both positive and negative.
Saw it in person.
Let me see. I don't know if he actually saw it in person but just he gave his take on it. But the part that was key here, he said, let me disclose first that it's not complete AI run yet. Much of it is teleoperated, which is what you're alluding to, which means a human will be embodied inside the robot remotely. This brings major privacy concerns to the home because it means another human being will be viewing what is going on in the home, right? So yeah, I mean, but I like that he's just like casually like up front, this is the thing, but here's all the things I like about it, which now like trying to be objective. Yeah, like if this was actually private somehow with AI powered, not a human, you know, doing it remotely. Yeah, even then, a lot of people would have concern, right? Like 100%. I mean, I think people are concerned about this.
You just don't know either way, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like if the software isn't open source, you have no clue what it's recording, what it isn't. Didn't this thing come out about incognito mode recently?
Yeah. I saw the jokes about that.
What's anybody thinking?
Google
they're not recording
will be deleting your data on incognito mode, and people are like, wait a minute, what are you talking about there? No, but also, Jack, I will say this is anecdotal, but from the early social media days, Facebook, Twitter especially, I've 100% spoken to people that work there who talked about seeing people's messages. Like 100% is illegal, right? Like it shouldn't. I'm not saying they were necessarily doing it, but people like I've spoken to that I trust that their opinion, they were 100%. There was jokes like early Meta employees can say, like there was a little bit of a bit of a scandal, it seems like, internally at least, of like people were dating people and they would like look them up, and then
but Uber had the same thing, right?
Stuff.
People were they would like following people's journeys, like where they are and stuff. Just
yeah. That's mental.
All of this like infrastructure, especially when these companies are really young, is like they're not building it to be this like fortress of privacy, right? Just trying to get the product to work.
Yeah. You have the God mode login, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all like trusting the people that are running the software, and I think that probably occurs to an extent nobody would be comfortable with if they really understood.
Definitely.
Like I think even all of these platforms, with the exception of the ones that are like maybe Twitter now, I've seen criticism about even the way that the new encrypted message stuff is done that doesn't make it like entirely private. But yeah, I think for the most part, like if you're putting your information into a computer, somebody else can read it. Like there are very few exceptions to that rule. Crazy.
Yeah. And I think, especially on the personal side, I'll say to be objective as well, even at Google, I saw early on, again, I don't think this was illegal because it's only if someone abused it, but like Google Analytics, right? So like, I remember even when I was there, 2010, you could click into pretty much any website with analytics and see the analytics. Now, obviously, you only would do that if you had a reason to, like your support person, let's say. Like, say someone emails and says, hey, can you help me figure out this thing? I'm seeing a bug in my thing, or the data's not showing. That's the whole point of it. You're supposed to be able to go into their account the same way you can go into the Google AdWords account or whatever. So, but obviously 100% were there people probably going into it for sure. You know what I mean? So like then they eventually got rid of that because they realized it's too big and they couldn't probably police it very well. But so it's across the board, man. Like anything you're putting out, anything you're doing on social media anywhere, man, like just assume someone could potentially read it. And I'd say honestly the same for ChatGPT right now. How much of our personal stuff is going into that, like therapy style, medical style?
I think if people were like, if there's one platform you wouldn't want your shit leaked from, it would be that. Top of the list for everybody.
No, but yeah, 100%. And also, like genuinely, it sounds like this is not investment advice, but privacy advice. Get like a physical, like instead of just two-factor, get like the YubiKey or whatever you want to use. Like that's a good extra safeguard in my opinion. So
any companies that make those or want to sponsor the pod, get in touch.
Exactly. Yeah, even privacy I gave one out a shout for no reason just now, but yeah. No, but it's true. No, I use one, is recommended. So but yeah, so there's also the privacy concerns, but on the flip side, like long term, I'm sure they are aware of that being a concern for people. The other thing I'd say to be objective about it is I'm complaining about privacy, but then I'm still using ChatGPT for all my personal stuff. Yeah. And I'm volunteering way more information than a lot of people would feel comfortable. And we also make stuff on the internet, right? So like that's another level of knowing like our stuff's kind of out there. So the truth is like my actions speak louder than words. So it might be that eventually if this humanoid is like, okay, there isn't an AI actually anonymous Indian running it, and they somehow even in privacy terms guarantee that it's just running from a computer. Would I consider it? I mean, maybe if there's a way to like account for that stuff, maybe it's like in sleep mode and it only is summoned like the robot that you have to clean your house.
It's like your little dot on your
that's
your
true.
Webcam, right? That people thought was like, if this hardware is ever being used, then the dot is lit up. But I don't think that's true.
That's definitely
Like if somebody was nefariously trying to get access to your webcam, they would be able to figure out how to turn off the little light that goes with it.
The little light, you're right.
But
yeah,
man,
it's pretty mental.
Mental thought, isn't it? Just like a freaking robot putting a knife to your throat in the middle of the night. Could happen.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's crazy. 100%. The stuff that's downstream of this stuff is 100%. Like really mental. Like
no, you can fast forward and think of all the crazy headlines you would see. And the crazy thing is, half of them is like 90% of them would be AI generated videos anyway. Not even 10 years from now, literally a month from now, you could have that. Like say this was actually launched whenever, I don't know when it was supposed to be launched. I mean, the craziest stuff is literally sci-fi movie stuff.
And I think this is all like open source software, like the best ads for it you could ever imagine. It's like you literally, inviting this thing you could never possibly understand. I mean, that's true, I think, of a lot of things, but once it starts to have like true physical agency in around you is nuts.
And physical strength. Yeah. Because I was trying to, in my head, steel man the other side around like what would someone say to defend it. They would maybe say, well, you've already got your phone with you 24/7.
Yeah, you're like vacuum cleaner or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You
vacuum
can stamp
cleaner.
on that, man.
Oh man, those things they'd be going on my foot all the time. Yeah, they'd be getting a bit too aggressive.
But you've seen some of the videos of these little robots that are getting rogue. Like,
oh, the little one,
rogue, just getting like roundhouse kicked, and they like land on their feet.
Yeah.
They just come running back at you.
Those ones, yeah. Well, a lot of them are going to be made for war, isn't it, as well? So those ones,
yeah, man. But they, as they always say, this is the worst it's ever going to be.
Yeah, that's true.
Isn't that like true. A Roganism or something? Like someone always says that reacting to this. This is like the AI deep fake.
Sounds like a Jack Butcherism to me. You've said something like that. Yeah. Also, did you see the NVIDIA guy? Did you see him bring that little robot on stage?
No.
That was, again, I can't even tell if half this stuff is AI. I'm going to have to pull it up. But, here we go. NVIDIA Robotics, July 22nd. Oh, this was a little while ago. Let me pull this up. For people watching, you can click through on Spotify or YouTube.
Is that real? It looks like it.
That's what I can't tell. Yeah, NVIDIA Robotics.
Greg learned how to walk inside Omniverse.
No, it's not. Is
this fake?
But inside Omniverse,
no, wait, 100. Followed by Lex Friedman.
Yeah, I'm saying Omniverse is like a software product, I think. So it's like a
okay. Anyway, I saw he had one on stage recently as well. That was a different one. Anyway, mate, half this stuff is really difficult to tell, honestly, like what's real right now, especially when we haven't looked it up before. But anyway, Robert Scoble also said the teleoperation of the robot will be quite capable, even on early versions. Burnt showed off Neo watering plants, opening doors, doing laundry, washing dishes, cleaning up. Mate, there's going to be so many people that are completely fine to pay $500 a month for this.
You would think, I would think so. There's people that are paying more than that to get that shit done already.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm looking at the responses from people we would know or have heard of, or people we would follow on Twitter, and lots of them are pretty positive about it. Anyway, very interesting. I'd love to get people's takes on this as well, because would you use one?
We're doomers, man.
Shook. Yeah, we're just getting old. We're just getting old, man. All right, anything else on that one? Oh, the other thing, MKBHD, Marcus Brownlee, did a video. I didn't get to watch it, but apparently it was a little bit dystopian too. He was like a bit more negative on it from what I understand. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic with time. Definitely worth us capturing that, because that was last week, just after we recorded this, all went live. Wanted to get that on the timeline for you guys. Let's talk about the sentiment of the market, mate, real quick. There's a couple things to pull up here. This was an interesting, kind of a fun fact found almost, but this is wild from the Kabasi letter. He wrote, all net wealth in the US stock market since 1926 has been generated by just 3.44% of companies. So let's say less than 4% of companies have generated all the wealth, basically. To put this differently, 97% of all stocks have barely contributed to long-term shareholder wealth creation. The top 1.8% of companies reflect 90% of total gains. And like, you can pull out 50 other quotes that are related to this. That's pretty mental, isn't it? And now if you put that to present day, I don't have it off the top of my head, but what's the stat? Basically, like, it's NVIDIA and everyone else, pretty much. Yeah. And if it's not NVIDIA and everyone else, it's big tech. It's the Magnificent Seven driving all the gains. Because when you take out the top, I think 7 companies or whatever, it's basically been flat for a little while. Now, the other side to this argument or the discussion is, well, that's kind of always the case. It's like power laws. There's going to be some companies that outperform. It's also not necessarily indicative of actual value creation of companies in terms of them serving customers, etc. It's just what is being valued by investments. They're not exactly
Stocks
the same.
Just fucking
sentiment, innit? Yes. It's like, oh, this is going to go up more. I'm going to put more money into Nvidia, etc. So that was just one. But also did want to get your take on the timeline around, general stocks, but also Bitcoin specifically. And the thing I said before the pod was we've been wanting for many years for Bitcoin to be an uncorrelated asset. We finally got it because everything else is up and Bitcoin's been down. So we're on, today recording Monday, a little day early, November 3rd, 107 looks like right now. Again, but that was a joke, obviously, because we're, if you zoom out even a tiny bit, even from a year ago, up significantly. And but your take on it, Jack, but when we were getting warmed up, was around your feeling around like how people feel. If you were reading people's tweets right now versus you would think like the price is like 80 grand or
always happens
even
when I open Twitter first on the computer and I'm like reading people's tweets. I'm like,
that's your mistake. There you go.
Oh man, like what is this gonna be when I check this? It's like people's like, it's over. 4 years of. And I'm like, oh no, what happened? And I go, and like sometimes, maybe it's like maybe there's like a steep decline on the 1 day chart.
Yeah.
But for the last however long, Bitcoin's been over 100K for how long now? Almost a year, I think.
Yeah, most of the year, pretty much. Since beginning of the year, it went up.
Which, like, I guess, I don't know, like the idea that maybe. Obviously, everybody's talking their book, so obviously, there's some leverage wipeout or something, or just extremely unrealistic expectations of price action in the short term. But the idea that 1 or 2% move is like taking you out of the game is like absolutely mental. Like that's just. I don't know. I just feel like that's no way to live, Like there's really like to try and be even diplomatic about it. It's like it doesn't seem like a good use of like time, energy, resources. Like people who have a longer time horizon than you are going to destroy you.
Yeah.
And like if your time horizon is an hour or a day, then that's
an hour.
It's a lot of people that have a longer time horizon, right? I also think, like, to your point earlier when we were talking about this, it's like people are just knackered at this point. It's like you like pattern match to these other markets where, 2021 was just like absolutely, like wake up every day into like there's some new level of euphoria. It's like absolutely mental. And there's way more sophisticated participants, like all the like access also has this like leveling effect too, right? It's like, oh, we're going to give more access to people to buy this asset. You also give more access to people to sell it. So it's like it doesn't work in one direction forever. And I did read a couple of interesting articles about. Have you seen this like IPO analogy? The Bitcoin.
Yeah, I was going to
IPO?
say, the Substack, that someone wrote.
Yeah.
I read that. Yeah.
Yeah, the idea that there have been all of these like hugely long-term holders of Bitcoin that have exited over. Though. Yeah, exited at 100K, which, have made like generational wealth in the last 10 years and have even exited in like a really orderly way, just like slowly selling out of their position over the course of months and years. I forget the number, but it's like 400,000 Bitcoin have been sold by long-term holders this year or something.
That's the interesting thing because you can see the address and like how long it's been held for, essentially. It was Jordi Visser, right? This is the one.
Yes.
Bitcoin Silent IPO, why this consolidation isn't what you think.
And the basic argument is like the distribution now is like the consolidation and the distribution has gotten way more even than it was a year ago, where you did have huge amounts of capital that were held by a small amount of participants, and that obviously has the ability to like really hamstring the movement of the market in either direction. But just generally speaking, I think it's always the same thing where it's like zoom out and it's really not like, when you put a same with the S&P, it's even worse in that world. like a 1% move on like the Nasdaq
S&P.
or something, people
Oh,
are
yeah.
like going absolutely
Yeah.
ape shit. And I guess that is like,
because they're not used to the same volatility. Like we've been going through, like 20% drops would happen all the time. Like if you've been holding it for a while.
and maybe that's an interesting point, is like it has become like, it has like started to run more parallel to the traditional finance system. So people are like less able to stomach the volatility.
But
of
also,
it.
it hasn't been actually going. It hasn't been dropping as much anyway, right? Like so,
What did
like,
it drop?
It's both sides.
What was the drop on that? Like on the 10th?
It was like a 10%
October,
drop, I think. October
which is-
10th.
Yeah, which is
Significant, but not like. Yeah, I mean, in the past we've seen, obviously not in one day, but like from the high to the low, 80% drop several times throughout the last 10 years. So I'm not, obviously not in one day. That would be over often several months. But there would be. I mean, it would be interesting to see what those big drops were. But we haven't seen those big drops in Bitcoin specifically. With altcoins, definitely there were 90% drops recently. You know, there was people wiped up. But that's also because they're kind of vaporware. There's not, most of them don't have any real value. There's no. It's just it's just people shilling stuff.
I mean, it's also I need to pull the exact language for this, but it's like this thing is like extremely volatile as a function of its liquidity too, right? It's like kind of the feature and the bug are the same thing. Like the spreading out the risk over 500 companies is what dampens the volatility, but it also caps the upside. You know, over the long term, it's like the 3% rule. You bundle the other 497 companies in to stop moves to the downside. But if you put all your money in the top three, why don't we have an S&P 5, Bilal?
Yeah.
That's my idea.
Basically, yeah. You're right.
Like, I mean, probably somebody has made an ETF of that, right? Already of just.
Well, that's the thing. Interesting because it's weighted. A lot of it basically is dependent on those companies anyway. The only thing I'd say is obviously, like 10 years ago, Nvidia wasn't obviously what it is now. Mm-hmm. So if you had bought, you know, big tech, but you know, it was like, what was the phrase before Magnificent Seven? What was it again? It was like
what was it?
Google, Meta, Fang. Right? Yeah, Fang. I forgot that real quick. So there was Fang, quickly, and then Nvidia. I was looking at it because more like in disbelief at myself in like negative way, because I was looking at when I first was buying Nvidia and then selling quite early. I was looking at it like, damn, that was even from the time we done this pod, how much it's gone up. It's crazy, right? Mm-hmm. Now,
I mean,
like,
it's just silly.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's $5 trillion company now. But what I was going to say is if you had held the index, which to be fair, I did, that would then become in the Nvidia gains would come into the index, obviously. Now, it wouldn't be as concentrated as just holding Nvidia, but when every other stuff dropped, like, you know, in 2022 or whatever it was, when everything dropped because of interest rate changes and stuff, or like a lot of the high growth stocks got hit, and a lot of them haven't recovered, which we'll come on to in a second. Yeah, you don't get that downside anyway when you have the index. So, yeah, it's a bit of a weird, like you said, zooming out, like just without an hourly timeline, you know, or a chart, you just zoom out 1 year even, which is nothing in the long-term investing, obviously. We're all-time highs for pretty much everything, right? So that's a different conversation, but...
Well, that's it. We need Saylor back for that one, man.
There we go. Yeah.
Priced in what?
Well,
but
it's true.
But then the interesting thing is like the counter argument, if you take the opposite side to you know, the Bitcoin maximalist, is like it's judged on the same metric, right? Bitcoin is priced in dollars too. So when you make the argument that like, oh, this is the devaluing of the dollar or debasement trade or anything like this, people expect everything else to behave on the same timeline. Like the gold and Bitcoin correlation, it's never really been 1-to-1, right? They seem to have this like time-based.
Yeah, normally gold has been actually like not correlated to the rest of the market, which is why it's valuable for a lot of people in the portfolio. Whereas traditionally Bitcoin was closest correlated to like Nasdaq, like high growth stocks pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
now this last year, maybe I haven't looked at the numbers, but it might have changed slightly, but not really because everything's been up. So like you say, it's, obviously there's a more precise way of measuring volatility, not volatility, correlation, sorry. But while you're thinking of that, Jack, I'm also going to bring up one other thing I'd saved here. I'm just going to pull up because it's a related topic that I shared with you guys in the chat. Do you remember this one? So this guy, Akash Gupta, had posted, this is an insane chart for people who are listening only. It basically is from 2005 to 2025. There's two lines. One is S&P 500, assuming price or value, whatever. And then total job openings. So you can see complete correlation all the way until 2023. What they put there is ChatGPT launch. And so this has come up in many different ways. Now, just to make the full point, someone else wrote, Simon Saris wrote, lost history. Future generations will think 2023 chatbots started the era rather than the highly obvious and more correlated lined up end of 0% interest rates in 2022. The reason I bring that up is because it's kind of to what you said. Let me come back in the video here. Like I've said, we've shared something like this before with jobs specifically. Like there was do you remember the Indeed ones as well? Indeed job listings for developers, for example. Mm-hmm. And then it falls off a cliff when this happened. Now, the truth is it's probably a little bit of both. Like obviously AI is having an impact on certain types of jobs. But the big thing, especially like for a lot of companies were just in the 0% interest rate mode. And they were just hiring like crazy, overspending, overinvesting. And when interest rates changed, they went up. Obviously, that changes the way you value companies and stocks, and everything just got hit. And I remember even talking to like friends at the big tech companies, and they, a lot of their compensation is in stock, and they would just be so isolated in their view of what was happening. They're like, oh, it must be because Google did this, or we messed up here. And I was like, it literally had nothing to do with that. It was, maybe they overhired or whatever, but it was literally just, you see the interest rate changed and all the growth stocks got hit. And they had a lot of them won't even know why they're related in the first place, right? Isn't
that kind of the like prevailing truth of almost every market is like just downstream of monetary policy, and retrospectively you're like, oh, this is when this thing happened, therefore that was the cause. It's like, no, it's completely about how they decided to print and distribute money.
Yeah, well, I think it's a massive contributing factor either way, right? So maybe it's not only interest rates or money printing, but it's definitely a massive, if it was a pie chart of things that impacted share price, it would 100% be like probably more than half is those two things. And obviously the actual economy, jobs numbers, are there actually companies building stuff? How do you compare like US versus other regions? Like there's so many different factors. Obviously you can't really, it's basically just sentiment summarized, right? It's future sentiment summarized. It's not based on like what's actually happening. The best example when I finally learned that was when we had the pandemic and everything rocketed. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? Like, remember that obviously the first like week, there was a little bit of a correction because people didn't know what was going on. But as soon as that signaled, oh, we're going to be at 0% interest rates for a while because they need to stimulate the economy, everything just went crazy while other people are losing their jobs and staying at home, not spending money on planes and local cafes or whatever. And I was like, what? This, because in my head, having studied like basic economics and business, I was like, oh, it just must be related to the economy. And it's like, it is kind of loosely related to the economy, but it's actually really just about like what is happening in the future and where you think the best use of your money is. Because it's not me and Jack spending money in our Robinhood account that's really impacting these numbers, right? It's like institutional money, it's governments, it's like that level of money that is impacting stuff like this. So yeah, it's interesting. The only reason I bring that up as an example, the ChatGPT launch, is because, like I said, I do think it has an impact. But I like the phrase here, like lost history, because I think there's going to be a lot of stuff like that from this era, both in terms of unprecedented money printing interest rates, but also all the AI stuff, which is incredibly, useful and stuff like that. But also there's a little froth, and we're going into that world of dead internet theory we've talked about, where everything we're consuming is slop or like a lot of made up stuff. We've already been in like post-truth era for a while, right? Like everything to politics to markets to, poly market, everything is all post-truth in a way. Well, maybe poly market is actually not a best example because you can actually have like something deciding what's right and wrong. But yeah, it's just an interesting kind of frame for a lot of the stuff we're seeing. And I think we're going to see that over and over again in the coming years, in my opinion. So yeah, I don't know if you had anything else to add to that, mate, but that was the main point. All right, cool. Nice one. Let's move on then and now we can link to Geordie's post, by the way, Rafa. It was visalabs.substack. It was a good write-up. So where are we now, mate? On the agenda, let's talk about company naming. So you had a tweet about this. I don't have the tweet to hand, Jack, but what was the tweet originally based? It was on Elon Musk. It was on Rogan, right? And they talked about Polymarket, I think.
They, I think Polymarket actually tweeted the clip of him saying, pull up the Polymarket odds. It's like it's become this like Uberism. Polymarket is such my tweet was just about this idea. It's like, this is very obvious, but the product that has the best name in the category has such an insane advantage over anything else. And like we already referenced the competitor on this podcast, which is Kalshi.
Yeah.
Which if you like just take those two words and look at them in isolation, which one are you more likely refer to, and which one conveys something about the product itself in the name? And I'm sure there's a conceptual reason for the other name, but Polymarket has become this. I think you hear like Tom Brady's talking about it on like NFL broadcasts. It's just become this like almost verb. We like to talk about nominative determinism on the pod.
Remind people what that is again for people who haven't
basically means that this is in the context of people. Very often you will sort of grow into a career or a line of work or focus that is in line with your name. And we had a few examples of that. Exactly. We had a few good examples on an earlier episode. But I got some amazing replies to this tweet. One of my favorites was the idea that naming is distribution, which I think is naming is distribution. There's entire products that should dominate their category but can't get out of the gravity well because their name doesn't do any work for them. Which I think is really interesting. And to quote every episode, Sailor, remember that original domain thesis was like, I bought alarm.com for however much and then sold it for 30 million.
Yeah.
Because you could spend 10 million bucks doing a Super Bowl ad for a word that is loosely associated with the thing but doesn't directly refer to it, or you could just buy the domain alarm.com. And even the behavior of people just logging onto their computer and looking for something like that gets you to the top of the list. And then one other thing I was going to say, I also think this is true for something like Bitcoin. Like the name is so good that if you'd have named it something else, there's probably a parallel universe where it doesn't get the adoption that it gets, right? It's like it's taking these two words. Obviously, Bit has this like reference to the technology stack, the internet, like these things that aren't physical. And then coin, everybody knows what coin is. And that's one. And I think there's like, this may be a controversial opinion, but I think Ethereum is a very rare example of a word that's been made up like 20 years that is actually good and does describe or embody the thing that it refers to. Normally like made up words are not very lindy and they don't like capture the idea very well. But I really think there's something hugely overlooked about this. And I have even been like on the other side of this argument a long time ago. Where it's like, oh, just name it anything and get it out. And it gets more and more true every day with the amount of noise and competition that you have, that like a quality name can do so much work for a business or a product. That I think another good one, recent one, Hyperliquid, same idea.
So good. Great.
Two
name.
words, right? You're not trying to make people like learn new words or new spelling of something.
Yeah.
You're literally just taking two words from the English language and whacking them together to describe what it is your thing does. And you can own that. So yeah, I just think that was an observation that I thought was worth. Well, I was actually, as I was writing, I was like, this is so fucking obvious. Like, why am I even writing this?
No, but
then,
I think it is obvious in some ways, but I also think a lot of people would have an opposing view too. So I think that's probably why it was interesting, because the other thing I'd say to your point, obviously you're like a master in this. That's like half your work is communicating stuff in like really short ways, both visually and through naming and stuff like that. Like visualize value, build once, sell twice, permissionless apprentice. Like you've done this forever. Like even when I first got to know you over text, you would just come out with these and I'm like, how did you come up with this 2-word thing? You know what I mean? So, but the other thing I'd add to what you said, I agree with you, is specifically in the digital age, I think it makes even more of an impact, because let's compare it to old names, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, right? So yeah, that made a difference. I think there's a slight difference though. Like that was, for billions of people, and they're going to spend billions of dollars to get it out there eventually to that many people. Now, you could argue, is McDonald's a good name or not? Coca-Cola, like all that sort of stuff. I think you probably are going to say it is a good name, but...
Sick name, yeah.
Name,
It's chicken and egg. It's also a chicken and egg thing.
It's like, did they make it... Yeah.
But it's also, I mean, just to do like 5-second or 30-second detour on McDonald's, it's like, it does have that like family, the last name of a family, in contrast to like hyper mass-produced slop. Is like it's like contrast that made it work. I think like maybe you could even say like that's why it's a bigger brand than Burger King, because it's like
which is interesting though, because to
like
your point
lore.
earlier, but that's the thing, there is a difference, because like Poly Market has market in it, and you understand straight away. Burger King, you know straight away they sell burgers. McDonald's, you don't necessarily know, but it's like a slightly different angle. Now, have you watched the movie? Is it called The Founder?
Founder, yeah, it's a good film.
Yeah, pretty good film. I watched it on a plane. It was decent.
Yeah.
Actually, I've watched it twice. I watched it at home as well. But yeah, he even says, and who knows if this is true because it was in a film, but he's like, I couldn't have done this without the name. Like, he's very bullish on the name. Do you remember? And he like kind of steals it from those other guys.
The McDonald brothers,
Yeah, McDonald brothers, exactly. But it isn't, what I was saying on the digital age though, is there's almost infinite distribution, infinite upside. A lot more anyway. Maybe infinite's a strong word, but a lot more upside than just someone telling someone verbally. Now, when you tell someone verbally, it spreads to 10, 100, thousands of people. And so I think Polymarket is a great example of that, because it's on the feed, it's in the news. People are saying, like right now, it's election week in New York. I just went on it right now. I'm on Polymarket. I'm looking, I'm like, New York mayor election, percentage chance. And I actually think what they did really well, I don't know if they did this or Kaushi or who, but they made it, let me just click into it, because it says percentage chance basically. Now, let me see if that's the phrase they still use. Yeah. It says on the right here, percentage chance, which sounds, again, obvious. But previously, like I've been doing Betfair for 20 plus years, yeah? UK, two-sided marketplace, very similar to this, right? It's not that new an idea. But the difference there is you had to learn, first of all, the odds, right? Do you remember old school odds? It's like 17
crazy,
to 2. It's like, what's that even mean?
A horse racing, you're looking at like 50 odds.
Yeah, it's crazy. And honestly, I don't know, again, on the history of this, to me anyway, the first place I saw that did decimal odds was Betfair for me. And this is like literally 20 years ago. So I remember seeing it and being like, oh, that just makes sense. It's like, it just, instead of 17
basically
to 2,
the multiple of what you bet.
Yeah. So it's like 2. It means I spend £10, I get 20 back, and I got £10
crazy profit. That it took that long to get there. It's nuts.
But this is even like a step ahead now, in that it says, so I'm looking right now, Zoran Mamdani, 94% chance of him winning. Andrew Cuomo, 6% chance. So now they translate it to a human phrase. Like, it's not just, oh, you're going to make £10 on your your bet. That you're literally saying a percentage chance, a probability.
Well, that and the price correlates perfectly with the percentage.
Exactly.
To
Yeah,
the
because they
dollar
have
amount.
a thing buy, yes, 93.7 cents, no, 6 point. And I haven't actually used Polymarket, so I don't actually know when you get into the actual buying of it, if it is as intuitive, because sometimes it's still confusing to me. Also, did you see Robinhood just launched predictive markets too? I just saw that. I just signed up for it.
Oh, we
Mate,
did.
Did we talk about last week?
No, they said that you can predict Google searches now and stuff. Insane, man. I actually have a great tweet
That's
I wanted to
mad.
share from
on.
a guy I met in person recently, but I've known on the internet for a while, John Fiorentino. He quote tweeted that Robinhood announcement, which is basically like the entertainment and pop culture betting contracts. He said, everyone is drastically underestimating how close we are to being in a world which there is literally no path to wealth creation, regardless of class or status, except for gambling. Crazy.
You did share this. You did. Oh,
Yeah.
I saw it. Oh, you shared it. Yeah.
Incredible observation, honestly. Like every time these things come out, it's like,
You could argue we're almost there now, to be honest.
yeah, I would say, yeah. Like
For
unless
like
you're
a regular
extreme
person.
outlier, yeah.
Like, I mean, all jokes aside, obviously we're not literally talking about casino, but I'm talking about the idea that you could buy a house, like the American dream equivalent, get a normal, go to university or college, spend whatever you do on that, then get a job that pays you enough to pay back your loans and pay your rent, then buy a house, get a mortgage, the standard thing, have a car, have a wife or husband, have kids. Like that standard dream has felt so far for most people. It still is, right? So, and it's become increasingly harder as the years have gone on. So that is the underbelly of like what's been driving a lot of the last like 15, 20 years of this speculation stuff. So like previously, a lot of people, they would earn their money, save up a deposit, buy a house, and that was the only investment they made in life pretty much, right? Like they put it in a mortgage and they were told this was going up forever. It's better than renting. It's cheaper than renting, etc. And we don't have to open up that whole can of worms. But that's the
Episode 66 is all we need to say on that.
Yeah, exactly. But basically, I love that you still remember the number as well. It's so good. Yeah, because you did the trailer. If people don't remember, there was a trailer you did. It was incredible. But anyway, because I was moving to a new iPhone recently and I still got that saved. It's such a large file because you did it on your computer. So I saw it because I was like sorted by file size. So I was like, I'm not deleting that off the cloud. So, but anyway, just the idea of like now people at least see a different, like look at what's happened with people investing in index funds, FIRE movement, like that's kind of responsible investing. And then you've got, or even appetite to learn about investing, which I think is a positive thing mostly. Yep. Then you've got on the risk curve going further out, you got betting, sports betting, more crypto stuff. To be honest, it's like more adjacent to that. A lot of the shitcoin stuff is like meme coins, stuff like that. And you've read Raoul Pal. I know you've been on his pod. His take on this about millennials specifically, and probably Gen Z even more now, about the demographic change, how a lot of this is just based on the fact that for our generation, we didn't feel like it was achievable to just do those things I said earlier. And so we had to go seeking other stuff. And that, like, I would say personally, maybe you feel the same. Like, that's how I felt. Like,
yeah, you just go further out the risk curve, even on your job
more on
and
the risk
everything.
curve. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, literally, for me, I was like, oh, how can I get some sort of financial stability? I'm going to have to leave my job and become self-employed.
Break the ceiling of whatever it is that I'm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or there's one position at Google above you in the like trail you're on.
Yeah.
That you can like kill yourself to try and get to and maybe not get.
Exactly. Or you're exactly. And you're just like, or like even beyond money, you're just like, I don't even want to do that because it's just, I'm not going to get, it's not going to get me to the place I want to get to. Whereas, and then you go on a journey around like, oh, what do I actually need to do to get there? I was actually thinking about this quite a lot because I started Creative Lab 10 years ago, 2015. And if I'm just being honest, like if I've started and stopped it so many different times, it's been like an amazing thing for me. Like literally changed my life, met you through all this, started this podcast for it, got a job, like all these different things. a lot of that, like I'm not even connected to a lot of the stuff I did originally. Like the interviews I did, I'm just in a different place now. You know what I mean? And not in like I'm 10 years older. I work for myself. The things I value is completely different. And I look at that version of myself and I'm like, well, I needed to do that at that time because I had way less, to be honest, like savings as well. Right? I was kind of early in my career and I was like, I need to build that up. I'm not just going to inherit this stuff. So like, how am I going to do this? That became my vehicle to learn how do you make money basically. Right. And a lot of those things I learned led me to the life I have now. But now I'm like looking, I was like, oh, do I want to do some interviews? Because like a few people reached out and I was like, yeah, I probably will eventually again. I've had it on pause for a while, but I have to feel that energy of like, oh, I really want to speak to this person about this topic and it has to fit the kind of life stage I'm at. And the stuff I'm more interested in right now is like well-being, my own like mental health, being able to, and I don't mean just like, talking to therapists. I mean like just feeling good basically, right? And 10 years ago, it was like, oh, I can sacrifice that stuff because I need to make the money. I need to take on this stress, which is kind of true. Like I did need to do all those things. So anyway, that was a bit of a tangent, but I do think it's interesting when I just look at, even like when I'm on the Twitter feed recently, I was like, oh, I'm naturally interested in this stuff, like the stuff we talk about, but I'm also like really interested in other stuff that we don't talk about on the podcast, obviously. So it's just, I think as we evolve and get older and, you've got kids, like it's a completely different, things you focus on now is completely different to even 5 years ago, I bet, right? So
definitely.
And so like the feeling is so dependent to come back to what we originally spoke about, that feeling of, oh, I need to make it, in air quotes, whatever that means to you, or I need to financially build up a base so that I can like get married and have kids comfortably and pay for them to do the normal things they do. That's still a struggle for 99% of people. You know what I mean? So I don't think this is going away, is the point. The speculation, the going out on the risk curve, I think if anything, it gets more pronounced. Anyway,
long degeneracy, as I've seen.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, what was that tweet you shared? That was really good. There was one about that. While you're pulling that up, I'm going to pull up the next topic as well. So I went on a bit of a rant there, but that was just on
great.
my mind.
I mean, it's true. It's also the way the collective consciousness functions just gets faster and faster and faster, and the rate at which you're exposed to these examples of people that are outliers by definition. That's why they're in your feed, and you like sort of marry that up to the expectations you have of like the actions that you're taking.
That's a good point.
There's just a massive discrepancy between those things. And then in order to catch up, you have to turn all of that shit off, do your 10,000 reps. And then if you don't do those 10,000 reps in that environment, you get no distribution. If you're in our game, at least, like it's a very, I can't really poke holes in that thesis that it's like, the thing that you end up arriving at as like a rational conclusion is gambling. At least in the short term, people will be like, again, it's just extrapolating from the example of somebody taking a certain amount of money, putting it somewhere and it turning into a different amount of money is like, oh, you sort of infer that you can do that too by watching it happen. And obviously all of those people that are making the 10x, the 100x, the 1000x are doing it because the people who don't know what they're doing are donating to them, essentially.
Donating is a very generous word.
And we did that a few episodes. Remember the what was it, the Solana, like the profitability per trader on
the meme,
and this is not specific to Solana, no
it was like pump.fun or something.
Just any
97%
exactly the idea that it's like it's the exact same natural principle that we talked about with the S&P 500, right? 3% of companies, 3% of traders, this. And this is what I love. Safe Dean, the Bitcoin Standard, the guy that wrote the Bitcoin Standard.
Oh, yeah, Safe Dean, yeah.
There's a great clip. I forget which podcast he was on recently, but that is, I think, one of the most compelling arguments for like helping set the frame for something like a Bitcoin, which is at what point, did people who train to do some sort of trade have to then become experts in like derivative
Stock
contracts,
trading.
tax strategy, like options, and it's just idiotic. And it's like all this game that has been running for too long based on the ability for the rules to be changed at a level that you have zero access to. And it is silly when you think about it. It's like, the fire or the like 8% return you can expect from the S&P is like maybe the maximum amount of mental capacity you should be devoting to that outside of being a professional investor. Like if it takes more mental resources beyond like I'm going to save X amount a month and roughly I can expect that to be this at this age. People don't even think of that as true anymore, right? It's like even if it is true, or it may be true, nobody knows. Like you can back test it for 100 years. It's crazy. We seem to sort of go massively away from that line and then like massively above the line, then massively beneath the line. Like if you think even about like Morgan Housel, Nick Majuli, like those books that they write.
Yeah.
It feels like nobody's reading those right now. You know what I mean? I'm sure they are, but you get my point.
I'm reading the new Morgan Housel one, to be honest. It's
Nothing ever changed. I'm just like, obviously they've sold a lot of books and they're great books. I'm saying I'm more of a commentary on culture.
Yeah.
Is like, that is an unattractive, and maybe that's why the books sell as well. But there are periods of time where that mentality is like almost everyone doesn't believe in it. And that's probably the point in time where you should have the most conviction.
But you're right. Like their books are talking more sense. Is kind of what you're saying. Like
it's like it's basically the modern. What's the classic book? The Intelligent Investor.
Yeah, Intelligent Investor.
These are like iterations on that, where it's like
that's interesting.
That used to be the like how to read a Well, I don't even know what level of detail. I read it a long time ago.
Investing, basically.
PE ratios and all that kind of stuff, and like it's got extrapolated away from that. Like, hey, don't worry about that. Like, just buy and hold, like the growth of these companies and the wheel of capitalism will just turn and you will benefit from it.
It's like, right? I've got a bogglehead. It's like, it's the fire, it's all adjacent to like fire movement.
Yeah. I mean, I love like those two specifically have done an incredible job of like codifying the simple principles of like, I think that does illustrate the gap that most people miss is like, hey, just keep buying and work on your craft, right? Or like ignore everything else and like capture the 3% of upside here instead of like trying to do your job and then be tuning into like NVIDIA earnings calls. What the, you know what I mean? It's crazy.
Do you know what's interesting? Even with me, I was catching myself, to be honest, recently. Like obviously we talk about on the pod and I'm interested in this stuff, but oh, sorry, there's a siren, but it's fine. Okay. I was trying to be objective about how much money I made from my investments versus my like business, right? Mm-hmm. And so for the last few years, I've made as much from investments as I have from my business. But this year specifically, I'm looking at this gold tweak, like stuff that I don't actually normally do. I'm normally pretty good at just like, I'm just going to buy this percentage. I'm okay with keeping it long term. I'm not buying like crazy stuff anymore, mostly. But this time I was like, because gold went up really crazy, and then now I'm like, okay, maybe I, don't know if it's going up 50% every year for the next 10 years. But then I was looking at the actual gain, and honestly, it was actually quite a significant amount. But then I was like, I've actually got this proposal that I was supposed to have been doing. I was kind of putting off a little bit because it was just like not as fun. You know what I mean? Of course. And I'm like, okay, this is going to literally make me so much more than this gain, like this little tweak. Yeah. But it's not a rational thing. That's kind of the point, right?
Yeah, so that's why it captures. It's like it's like content at this point. It's just like all intertwined, and the speed at which you can do it, and stuff like Robinhood too. Is like there's never not. Have you seen this? This is a weird analogy or like a weird observation I made the other day. In one of the malls here, they had like a Tesla thing in the you know, like put a car in the middle of a mall and you can look in it. So I go in the back of this car and there's like a little screen there with YouTube on it.
Yeah.
I think I have that. I think I took a picture
Did
of
you
it. So
send
funny.
it
It was
to me?
like,
Was it?
no, I don't think I did. It was like 0 to 1,000,000,000,000 brain rot. It was, maybe I did. I was like, man, it's just such a perfect encapsulation of like
in the back of the Tesla looking at the screen. Yeah, it's crazy.
like a random sampling of people walking through a mall. Like that's what they choose to watch in the Tesla. I don't even know what point I was trying to make there.
No, but also,
the,
Jack, the other one is taxi drivers or Uber drivers. Definitely not throwing shade. Like, but I'm saying the amount of Uber drivers I'll speak to, like when I'll see it on their screen, like they'll got their phone, and you've seen the memes, like people are trading while they're driving Uber, or they're like looking at a chart, minute by minute chart, right? And I'll sometimes chat to them just to, like I'll chat to most people that I meet, and I'll just ask them if they're interested in that stuff, like, oh, what are you looking at, and stuff like that. And then, obviously, first of all, you end up meeting the XRP army in those conversations. The Ripple, that is definitely a very popular thing in that world. But you'll see, and I'll talk to them. They'll ask me like, "Oh, what do I do?" And then I've just come up quite a few times. Even my barber recently, and he was like asking me about investing because he knows we do this podcast. And I was like, "Man, like, don't listen to me. Like, just read. Here's a couple. If you're interested, here's a couple books I recommend. They're going to sound boring at first, but that's what you need to really learn before you like say." He's like, "Should I be buying Nvidia or Tesla?" And I was like, "No, it's not. Like, before you even do that, like, understand these things, because otherwise you're gonna like be buying and selling. You're gonna panic when this happens." And trying to understand essentially the psychology of money is probably one of the top 3 books on this. And just like the idea of just keep buying, like those things do make sense. But he's like, what? Oh, that's up 12%. Oh, that's not enough. Like, he's like, no. I need something that's going to be like.
You say to him this, Bilal, every Bitcoin you don't buy costs you $13 million.
Yeah. Is that a Sailorism? Yeah.
That
sounds like a Sailorism.
That's a straight Sailorism.
And it is kind of interesting because that feeling of, oh, but that's not enough. I get that feeling, because if you're putting $10 into it, what if 13% is $1.30 or whatever, or $1. So it's just like, that's not what your energy should be focused on. And but yeah, it is interesting just to see how, like, coming back to what we said earlier, how the like the fact, to me, it's about like, the American dream equivalent is not really feeling achievable. I'm not saying it isn't completely.
Yeah, but then, you could take the counter of that and be like, you can trade global financial markets on your phone all day long. And
make money online through ways that you couldn't previously. So like definitely both.
It's about like, it almost comes full circle to the first part of the pod, which is like cognitive security. Is like the tools are incredible, but the tools that give you the access are also the tools that are trying to like siphon your attention and capital into oblivion.
No, exactly. And so it's like the same as social media can distract you for 15 hours a day, or it could mean you type some stuff out and make some graphics like you did and change your life, right? Or even for me, in my own way, beyond money and stuff like that, just like learning, meeting people, like up-leveling, all these different things. I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if I hadn't started that journey, you know what I mean? So, and it like as a vehicle to learn stuff, essentially. So that's kind of not like what you said there. Just to clarify my point of view, I 100% agree that as an individual, you've got as much power as in history, basically, to do some of those things. But you're also, like you said, fighting the crazy distractions that you're constantly having, and like that doesn't mean like someone like a single mum with 4 kids in the Bronx is like able to just become a millionaire overnight. I'm not saying that, obviously. People have to do what they can do based on where they're at, and a lot of the time their circumstances are they don't have they're just trying to survive most of the time. So that's why, like, obviously, even with Creator Lab, the reason I focused on it was, how do I find people who created their own life? Essentially, that was the essence of it, right? And it was all about, on a spectrum, it's like individual responsibility versus like government giving me something. It was on the individual responsibility side. But now, as I've also got a bit older and met all sorts of people, I'm like, yeah, that's still the most important thing. I obviously care about that. But there's still an element of like, yeah, man, sometimes it's just out of your hands. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean you can't improve your life, but there's a lot of people struggling. So that I'm kind of sympathetic to both sides of there. Anyway, mate, we got should we, how you doing for time? Should we hit one last topic? Or talking of struggling, we got the UK segment. Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
I mean, you just put the chart up, man.
Let's put it up.
I know, we've been ragging on...
yeah, we were saying before, we don't want to... You know, we're both very proud British people.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to be shitting on it all. But this is something that hit the feed. So I'm just going to read this out for people. In the year 2000, UK's top 10 incomes were number 3 in the world, but they've since gradually fallen and now behind the rest of the Anglosphere and Northwestern Europe, just above Spain and Italy, right? And so this is probably from Financial Times, is it? Yeah, FT. You can tell from the brand in there, Jack.
Yes, sir. That little pink.
And so, yeah, this is just, so for people who are listening only, US at the top, keeping it flatline there. You'd love to see it.
What's that, 24 years, yeah.
That's pretty, yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see this in the future. Where's this? Did I have China on here? Well, I guess China is also, there's still a lot. There's a billion
Maybe there's
people,
no data or something.
Yeah, that's a good point. Number 2, Switzerland, keeping it flatline, which we'll come back to. You had a good question on that. Australia, coming out of nowhere there. Number 3, Germany, Canada, Ireland, big moves. Look at that, man. That is incredible. So I was saying, where I started my career, Ireland, 2010, wherever that is, mate, it's really difficult to see on here, but it's been on a roll. Obviously, a lot of companies have moved there. I will say also, there's an element of like currency stuff here. Like 2008, I remember coming here, there were $2 to a pound. Or like 2004 when I did the website, it was like $2 to a pound. So there may also be an element of like purchasing power parity here. Anyway, UK, you can see the decline here. Now, like we said, we're not trying to share on it at all. There's a lot more to life than just income, but income is a big part of creating a secure life for yourself and your family.
And that's just not the direction you want to see it going.
Yeah, you don't want to see that going down. And it is also it's not in isolation, right? There's Brexit. There's obviously all the stuff that we've seen from the government in the last few years. And beyond that, even companies, you know, on the economy side, like you sent a great clip from a guy speaking about this, that like kind of calling out all the historical things that have come from the UK. And like we say, even in recent times, Transformer paper came from you know, people who were there. Was it Cambridge University, I guess? So yeah, there's still lots of amazing stuff in UK. Obviously spend a lot of time there. All my family's there, but it is a bit sad to see, especially as 2 Brits, seeing more and more of these charts. There's another chart. We've seen the millionaire exodus of people leaving any country, and the UK is at the top. A lot of people moving to like places like Dubai, stuff like that.
I think what you think of, like when that narrative started getting popular, it's like, oh yeah, you know, kind of like fear mongering, oh, that's not really happening. And then like to see it 5 years later where it's like, no, actually, like when the warning bells were originally being sounded was the time to take that seriously for anybody that's like creating the incentives to keep those people there.
Yeah, and one of the responses to that tweet, or one of the tweets, we can't find it, but do you remember what it was about the 100K, Jack? There was someone posted, it was something along the lines
I mean, I think there's just interesting, somebody responded to, I think it wasn't even like some bombastic suggestion, wasn't it? It was just like people should be able to, like, the tax rate above
this was the tweet, sorry, from, again, I don't know who this person is. Was this the one?
Misrepresenting it, yeah.
Just real quick, this was him talking about something called personal allowance. He said, how about we don't reduce personal allowance after 100K and stagger child benefit off, just like how universal credit payments were. Anyway, we don't need to go down all the ins and outs of that. The understanding I have from speaking to people is above a certain threshold, let's say 100K in this case, which again, look, the average salary in the UK is probably like 34K or something like that. And I will say even in the US, it's like 50K or something, right? It's not in dollars, not pounds. So 100K is way above the average income. So I'm not saying there's no merit to this. But from what I've spoken to my friends who are in this bracket, they basically said they are fighting to keep their salaries below that amount because after 100K, roughly speaking, I don't know the exact number, you have to then earn like 130K or something just to get essentially in your pocket what you got at 99K. And it's to do with personal allowances, universal credit, like just the way the system is. And so a lot of people, there's a disincentive for them to essentially push for that next level unless it really pushes them up to the next one.
And isn't it like, I mean, it seems crazy that has persisted, or that is the set. I remember that even at like 40K or something. Like there are these things
like the progressive tax.
I need to get a company car instead of having a pay rise because, you know, like the tax brackets get really
that's
aggressive.
A good point. Yeah.
And just like if you think about it, just from like some fundamental physics, basically, right? You are creating this ceiling or this like contradiction in the act of value creation itself, right? Like obviously a company, it reminds me of that guy that wrote that stupid article about like only basketball players are millionaires. Do you remember that? From like years ago, a New York Times thing. Like as a company, the idea that the people who create X amount of value, you can continue to like incentivize and pay for the value that is created, as opposed to like, there's got to be some second order effect that even like bloats organizations this way, right? Would you rather pay?
Level,
would you rather pay someone £500,000 a year, or you want to pay 8 people £100,000 a year? Because that's what everyone will end up doing, right? Or 20 people. It's like it really has this very bizarre effect on even how you structure a company or make a product, and I'm sure like outside, I don't really know how self-employment works in relation to that. I'm sure there's maybe some more lenience in that, but you're essentially saying like we're disincentivizing value creation for an individual above £100,000. Yeah, which is the absolute most moronic.
Well, especially from 100 to, let's say, whatever that number was, 120 or whatever.
Yes, which is probably like, I would say in America, it's probably that like sweet spot-ish, you know? It's like high agency, like like if you can justify paying someone 150 grand a year or whatever, they're doing something useful.
Yeah, you're not paying that for fun, right? Like they're having to do something for you,
Yeah. So even like, I don't know if that works in like, say you get commission for selling something. I wonder if you like try and keep your performance under a certain, I don't know. Just don't know the nuances of it, but just like the physics of it or the formula of it, just is obvious why that would like slow you down over the long run.
Yeah. And I would say I'm trying to keep myself objective here on trying, I always try to think on the other side, like what would I say? And I know you do as well. So I'm just thinking out loud here, but I guess the idea is, the summary is it's a bit of a blunt tool for something that needs to be more precise. And so it's more like, I don't think that philosophically they would want to do that necessarily, right? Like they don't want to disincentivize.
Yeah, they're not doing that on purpose. Yeah.
Exactly. But the result is still there. And what's happening though is like the idea of progressive tax obviously is like in most places. I'm not against that at all. In the same way, like if I'm going with my little nephew and he earns nothing and I earn more, I pay for dinner, right? Like that's not a big deal to me. Similarly with tax, I don't mind paying more if I earn more. But there's a difference between basically creating a incentive where, you know, making between 20, 30K more, you're now worse off. That feels a bit off. Now, again, I think the detail here is on the personal allowance, and this is the part we don't know as much about, is a lot of it's based on like having kids, like there's certain allowances you get in the UK. In the same way in the US, I believe it's just a little bit more straightforward in terms of like a tax refund. Whereas in the UK, maybe it's more tied to like your life circumstance, which actually kind of makes sense. Like if you've got kids, you might need more help with certain things, and that's what it actually means. The money you're getting is going to the things that they want to help with at a governmental level. So maybe that is a good thing. But this is just, you know, one more example of something we've seen quite a few times in in the UK, unfortunately, we've got 100 examples here of inefficiencies too, don't get me wrong. But specifically as it relates to things we talk about, which is money, earning money, starting companies, creating value in the economy. So it is an interesting example. And I would love to hear, because we've got quite a few people listening from the UK, like their experience of this, and they often will push back and say, like, actually, you guys didn't think about this. I remember you saying something about starting a company in the UK must be really like lots of paperwork. And so I remember someone saying, actually, I've done this here. It was way easier here than in the US. And, so I'd love to hear their take on this as well. But anyway, any other thoughts on that, mate? Overall, UK, a few little anecdotes here and there, but still a good place to be in some ways. But as it relates to, obviously, like I said, life is not just about making more money, but you'd want to make sure a lot of stuff is based on you having enough money just to feed your family, essentially. So I think it's still an important topic there. So anything else on that, mate, before we call it a day here?
No, that was good.
Yeah, we'll save some of those AMAs for another time. Great to chat to you, mate. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And we'll see you guys next week. Appreciate all your support. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.